Hi again everyone, my name's Chris. I'm the remote reseller and I also live in a caravan park in a cabin that we've owned for the last 14 years. So today I wanted to have a bit of a chat to you and perhaps expand on some of the things I've talked about in the past around living in a caravan park. It's an affordable option for anyone who's looking to perhaps downsize or just change their lifestyle. So today my question is, are caravan parks the hidden affordable lifestyle option for those of us who are over 50? So for those who don't know who I am, I'm Chris. I am the remote reseller. I do actually work part-time. I work in community services part-time, and I also sell on eBay. So, and the reason I'm remote is because I do live in a bush setting, in a bush caravan park in eastern Victoria. So let's have a look at what are some of the topics I'm going to talk about today. Is why do caravan parks appeal to over 50s? Let's have a look at some cost breakdowns. We'll talk about some of the benefits and the financial upside of living this lifestyle. Some of the risks, some of the considerations. Let's look at lifestyle factors beyond the money. We'll look at some practical tips for you that might be considering a move. So let's get going on this. Why would a caravan park appeal to someone who's over 50? You can purchase a cabin, a mobile home, a demountable, transportable. There's all sorts of different words for them, but in effect they're I'll call it a cabin because we've had ours for 14 years and I always call it the cabin or the unit. Sometimes we call it the unit, sometimes we call it the house. You could be downsizing to reduce costs, to release some equity so that you've got a bit of cash. You want something, perhaps it's lower maintenance and it's a simpler lifestyle. Maybe you just want something that's a little more peaceful, although some parks may not offer that. Maybe you want a community feel, social connections, or you might want proximity to a landscape or an environment that you would prefer to live in. For us, that's one of our considerations, was to have be closer to the bush, and also we're fairly close to the ocean as well. So we've got the mountains one side and the ocean the other side. It is a lower maintenance. I mean, we just have a small garden around our cabin, and there's no lawns to mow, so we don't need a lawn mower. There are considerations like that. Let's have a look at the different accommodation models, where you can own your cabin, you rent the site, there's a long-term lease, weekly site rental, and you've got your own utilities, maintenance, insurances. There's no rates involved in this, no council rates. And if you look at the costs, renting elsewhere, say in a town versus renting here or in a situation like this, I think you'll find there's a significant difference. I mean, current rentals, I think, you'd be looking at $350 to $450, $500, depending on where you are and what you're renting. Here, we're currently paying for two people to live here. We pay $157 a week. We'll be going up shortly. It usually goes up once every 12 months. We're covered by the normal Residential Tenancies Act in Victoria. So the rental increases have got to be, the formula for deciding what the increase is going to be has got to be outlined in the notification that the rent is increasing. Got to be given adequate time, and if there's any disputes, then you can take it to VCAT and dispute the rental increase. But luckily there hasn't been an issue for us at all. We've got pretty good owners of this park, and they're very approachable if we've got any concerns with any of that. some people will say, well, I want to own the land. You know, why would I pay rent for land? But let's face it, even if you own an apartment, you're paying body corporate fees, and you don't own the land necessarily that your apartment is sitting on. Or if you do, you only own a minute portion of it because everybody else has a share in it too. So I'm not quite on board with the argument about why would I rent the land, because there's some other reasons where you might want to here. I'll talk about that in a minute. Retirement village fees can be quite steep, and also there's some concerns around the structure of ownership within retirement villages. So a retirement village perhaps versus, this is where it comes down to a bit of language, but retirement village versus a lifestyle village. There is some nuances and some differences in that terminology. The lifestyle village is very similar to a caravan park, where you would own your unit, but you are renting the land that it's on. You will be paying a fee because you will be sharing some shared communal resources, like whether it's a clubhouse, whether it's an indoor pool. You know, there are some of those resort style facilities. If you want them, great. We have a pool here, but we share it with the tourists during the summer period. It's not what I would call resort style pool, and we don't have a clubhouse as such, but we do have a rec hut, and we've gathered there on numerous occasions to celebrate significant birthdays or significant events, even to have our resident meetings and that. We can go up, we use the rec hut for that. So that's included in that $157 a week that we pay to rent here. You know, you've got lower weekly costs here versus traditional renting. Like I said before, there's no council rates because we're renting the site, so the park take care of that. You've got access to the shared facilities like the pool, the laundry, the barbecue areas and so on. We do use the laundry here from time to time. It's a coin operated, but if I want to dry some things and I can't get them dry on the line, I'll take them up to the laundry and use that. That's fine. Some of the risks and considerations, I guess, sometimes people are a bit concerned that they might have limited tenure in their on the park. Again, it depends on the ownership structure of the park. This is privately owned, so under the Residential Tenancies Act, they must give us 12 months notice if they intend to close the park. And they would also contribute to the relocation of our mobile home, our demountable, our transportable, all of the words. So there's an incentive there for them not to close the park. Having said that, there are some parks that are in beautiful locations and the land has become extremely valuable, and it is worth someone's endeavour to close the park and sell the land because it's got obviously a higher intrinsic value. So this land here is not worth selling. It's not good farmland, and it is not right by the beach. It's semi-rural, semi-bush. So yes, in terms of limited tenure, I probably would be careful as to which park I might have a look at, because anything that's council owned, no, they can change the rules quickly and you get evicted fairly quickly. There's one park I know of within I don't know, it's about 30 k's away, and they've said no permanent residents, only annuals and tourists. Whereas this type of park, the emphasis is on permanent residents, annuals, and to a lesser extent tourists, because tourism season is a bit fickle. whereas having permanence is, genuine income for the owners. So luckily, this park is suited to those of us who want to live here. Site fees do increase over time, so does rent. So that's just a fact of life. I don't think there's anything worrying about that. And like I say, CPI increases on $157 a week. They're still not going to break the bank. And there's a little bit of an option to mitigate that. Some people say, well, your house, your unit, your cabin may depreciate in value, but that's not been our experience. Our cabin has nearly tripled in value since we bought it 14 years ago. Now, we have made improvements. I don't know what we've spent on it. I've never really put pen to paper, but we've done new heating and cooling. We've done floor coverings, curtains. We've done a flyover, carport. There are things that we've done to not increase the value. That was never the purpose. It was about making sure that we were comfortable and enjoyed living here. So if there are some, there would be some, there would be some instances where some cabins would depreciate in value simply because the maintenance hasn't been done. There's been no retrofitting. They've become just like any house. If you don't do your maintenance and you don't modernise, it has less appeal. There are some restrictions on modifications, remembering that you don't own the land and you must stick to your site boundaries. And whatever we do inside the cabin is not of interest to the owners of the park. But when we are out on their footprint, then we have a works sheet and we submit that to them with our intended works. Like where I'm sitting at the minute, we've done some paving out here. We submitted the worksheet, told them what we would like to do. They came and had a look, said, yep, no problem, permission granted. So you must respect the fact that you don't own the land and that the park owners do have the final say over what can and can't be done on the land. In terms of the rent, if you're a concession card holder, you would probably be eligible for rent assistance in this situation. Same with a lifestyle village too, you'd be eligible for rent assistance. Let's talk about lifestyle factors that are beyond money. There is a strong sense of community and belonging. We look after each other, we know who's not well, we know who's away on holidays and we'll look after the gardens. And I know you do get that in a in a nice residential area. But also I do know that you can be in a residential area and not know your neighbours. So because there's a lot of outdoor living here, there is a real encouragement to speak to people. Could be just watering, and someone walks past with their little dog and they're off for a walk and there's a little conversation goes on. And I've said before, we celebrate birthdays. We'll celebrate tomorrow is grand final day. So we will probably, haven't got anything organised yet, but I'm pretty sure we'll end up doing something around a fire somewhere. Adjusting to living in a smaller space. That could be one of the lifestyle factors that you might want to consider. You've got to downsize from a big home or a family home or somewhere where you've been for a long time. You've got a fair few possessions. You've got to be pretty brutal about what you're going to keep and what you're going to let go. That was a bit of a struggle for me. I had some very, beautiful family, not heirlooms, but, just the possessions that come down from grandparents, mum and dad, and even things that I had from the kids, and had to, as much as possible, I was able to distribute that between the kids. and only bring here what was essential and what I thought I would definitely use and would like to keep. Health and accessibility considerations, you know, it's important to make sure that the cabin that you've got is hasn't got too many steps. Myself, I'm about to have a hip replacement operation in the next week. So luckily here there's no steps. It's all flat. We've got, well, it is flat, and where we could have steps, we've actually got ramps. We put them in right from the get-go. We weren't going to have steps here. That was heating and cooling. Some of these mobile homes, transportables, demountables, these cabins, they can be a bit hot and they can be cold. I joke and say it's like it's a bit of an esky, the way they're constructed. So I said earlier we've put some money in and we've redone the heating and cooling here. So we've got brand new, well, they're 1 year old, little split systems. We've got two, one in each half of the house, and we've also got a diesel heater to do the bathroom, which means I have lovely warm towels on a nice winter's morning. So that's a little tip. Have the vent underneath the towels so that they dry and also they're nice and warm to use. And in terms of that seasonal impact, tourists. Now, where we live, where there's no caravans, there's no tourists in amongst us, but the tourists will walk around, which is usually quite nice. It's families, it's older people like us who are travelling, and there's often conversations come out of that too, which is, you know, that's lovely. Love talking to people about where they come from, where they're going, what their travels are. I even like going for a walk myself and having a look at the different outfits that come in here. There's some pretty impressive outfits that come in, and I love having a look and see how they're travel. Pets and caravan park policies. Under the Residential Tenancies Act, you're allowed to have a pet, but we would recommend that you seek permission from the owner of the park. Some pets may not be welcome. Generally speaking, smaller dogs are okay, but that's up to each park to make their decisions about how they go about that. If you were considering living this lifestyle, I would suggest that you do a trial run. Maybe you go and stay in one of the parks or a couple of the parks, test them out, go and stay in them, have a little feel, go and talk to people, just give it a bit of a trial run, research different caravan parks, look at their rules and their fees, and because all of those things do vary. So just do your due diligence, just, you know, suss out where you might like to live and then have a look at what's on offer in those areas. Just check your own eligibility for rent assist. Generally, if you've got the healthcare card or a pet pensioner concession card, you'll be eligible for rent assistance. Keep in mind that you should budget for, which we do. We have we have an allowance for maintenance and upkeep of our place. It's like any place that you're living in, a house or another rental elsewhere. You know, you still got to budget for the fact that a fridge might break down or a washing machine or something. What's your exit strategy? Let's say you decide that you do want to go live closer to family. Let's say your health needs change. Oh, speaking of health needs, just remembering that living in a place like this, you still would be, in fact, it's quite cost effective if you are either part of the NDIS scheme or My Aged Care. You will still get, you'll get your home visits, you'll get modifications done to your property to make it safe for you to be there. We get deliveries from the supermarket, they come out here. There's really no restriction on being here and accessing services that you are entitled to have. So, There's lots more we can talk about. I'm sure if you want to ask questions, pop it in the comments below, and maybe I'll do another video when you want to know some more specific things. But caravan parks and lifestyle villages do offer affordable, social and flexible living options. There's a few risks. There's a risk with everything in life, isn't there? But there's a few considerations that you've got to be comfortable with. Run your own numbers, talk to others that are already living in caravan parks. I'm sure that you will find your fair share of bad, negative stories. We've been here all this time, initially as annuals, so we were just the holiday makers coming and using our cabin for the holiday times. And then we shifted here permanently in 2022. I think it was 2022. Between 2021 and 22, when COVID was on and we were sort of deciding where we were going to actually be because there was all these restrictions. So it was sort of, we were here, we commenced in 2021, I think, and maybe formalised it more in 2022. So would you consider living in a caravan park in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s? When we shifted here, there was a lady here who was in her 80s. Then she went into aged care. I think there is about, I'm not quite sure how many residents, I haven't done a count, but there would have to be between 20 and 30 dwellings here for permanent residents, and they welcome more. They've got space for quite a few more. So that's kind of it for today. I just wanted to do a bit of a recap of some other videos I've done, and perhaps, you know, encourage people to think about this as an affordable way of beating the cost of living. I notice that it's not on the news anymore that there's a cost of living crisis, but the prices haven't gone down. They're still high, and this is one way to try and beat it, I think. If you were living here as a single person on an age pension, you would live okay. You would be able to pay your rent. You would be able to meet your utility costs. And I think you would find careful management of your money, you would do okay. Compared to if you were on an age pension, single, and you've either got a big house to maintain, rates to pay, larger insurance costs, and higher maintenance costs. I think that's becoming quite a worry for a number of people. So anyway, that'll do for today. I've done around about 25 minutes. That's really all I wanted to do. And I'm Chris. I'm the remote reseller and the owner and resident, owner of a cabin and resident in a caravan park. So until next video, I'll say goodbye, take care, and I'll see you later.